Welcome everyone here to East Falmouth. For those of you that might not know me, my name is Dave Vieira. I'm a state representative for the 3rd Barnstable District and the town moderator here in Falmouth. I'm a freshman legislator. This is my first term, and a few months into taking office, Rabesa called me and said, could you help me fill out a form so that we could have a bench placed in the state right-of-way in honor of Arthur Rabesa. And she let me know that the location here was one of a Regional Transit Authority bus stop and also a bus stop for the Falmouth public school system. And I said, well, no, let me take a look at the form. I don't know much about how that works. I'll figure it all out. And we started talking, and I remembered reading a newspaper article where a gentleman who mentored me as I was growing up was the state representative in that district, Tom Cahere, who's now the director of the Regional Transit Authority. I remember reading an article that he had some grant money to build bus stops. I thought, I wonder if he's got any of that money left. So we called down to the Regional Transit Authority and found out that there were funds still available to do these stops on Cape Cod, and there was still a need in the East Falmouth area. And that's when a partnership began. And so briefly, I'd like to just let you know who was part of this. All I did was make a few phone calls. This really happened because of the hard work of Tom Cahere, Matt Colva, and Kathy Jensen from the Regional Transit Authority. So let's give a round of applause for the Regional Transit Authority. Now, in order to be here, we're slightly outside of the state right-of-way, so we had to get permission from the State Department of Transportation, but also from Mr. Soares, Billy Soares, who's the longtime owner of the establishment here, and Mr. John Cadet, who is now the manager and owner of the franchise for Dunkin' Donuts. He's unable to be with us. He's from Pembroke, but he signed off to allow us to encroach on his leased property. So he was very important. Also from the town, Brian Curry, our town planner, helped us get the approval from the town. And our acting town engineer, Peter McConaughey, came out to make sure that we weren't going to obstruct any of the views as folks were coming in and out of the driveways here. So Peter, thank you for coming down and doing the site work for us. A gentleman who's no longer with us, my legislative aide, Mark Mancini, was the one that really started this project from my office. He is now at the police academy, and he'll be a police officer in Falmouth in a few months. So I'd like to thank Mark Mancini, who helped from my office with the project, but also my new legislative aide, Kathy Palmer, who's with us today. And also with us today, our chairman of the Board of Selectmen and County Commissioner, Mary Pat Flynn. And representing the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, Michael Kasparian. And our new town manager, Julian Suso. So a few weeks ago, a gentleman came down here with a crew on Monday, and by Friday the project was complete. And he's been doing these projects throughout the county and throughout Falmouth, and that's Doug Brown. Doug, thank you for the work that you're doing. I had some folks tell me I was out on vacation when I came back. Did you know there's a bus stop in East Falmouth? And that was so quick. I wish all of our government construction projects would be that quick. I just want to say a couple brief words before I turn this over about Arthur Rabesa. I met Arthur back at the Portuguese American Club in East Falmouth when I got out of college. And there was one story that always stuck in my mind. We tend to sometimes disagree in the Portuguese American Association at our meetings. And Arthur had one of those disagreements with me. And at the end of our meeting, he said, I will never come into this club again, this building again. And Arthur did not come back into the club for the year. But at the next year's annual meeting, we gave Arthur an award. Because true to his word, he did not come into the club. But he came every weekend to weed the flower beds and fertilize and to water the flowers. His dedication to the project was so strong that he continued his work for the club, even though he did not come back inside the club. And I wrote a note to Bella when Arthur passed, and I said, you know, some of them would say that Arthur Rabesa was a stubborn Portuguese from East Falmouth. I said, but for me, he reminded me of my grandfather. He was a man that stood up for what he believed in and did what is right. And he had a long service to this community. community, but also involved in multiple civic organizations and town government. And with that, I'd like to turn over the podium to the head of our Regional Transit Authority, who made this possible, Tom Pierre.
Thank you very much, David. It is really indeed an honor to be able to come by and say a few words and to celebrate the completion of the bus shelter. I had the privilege, as many of you know, of representing this beautiful town for 14 years in the state legislature, and I was from Bourne, so when I started we were kind of rivals, but at the end of my tenure I recognized what an incredibly wonderful community Falmouth is, and I've had a special fondness for Falmouth forever. And as the representative indicated, stories about Mr. Rabesa, I was a state rep for a long time here, and the stories about him were legendary in terms of his community spirit, his community efforts. I know that he started the supermarket across the street, and I know that all of the other great things that he's done in this community. He was on the school committee, and you really admire people that you give so much to the town. So when Representative Vieira indicated he'd like to dedicate this shelter to Mr. Rabesa, I thought, wow, what a great opportunity for us, not only to show off the great work that we have going on at the RTA, but to also come back to this great town and recognize a wonderful man and a wonderful family. Just very briefly, I am now the Regional Transit Authority person, and we're trying to improve our public service, our public transportation all across Cape Cod. We have 400 square miles to take care of, and we have 34 or so of these shelters that we're building and putting in strategic spots around the Cape to make it safe for our patrons to wait for our buses, to ride our buses, to utilize public transportation because of gas prices and other things. Drivers are well trained, and it's a very safe means of transportation, so you'll continue to see our service get better and better. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you ever have any concerns relative to transportation in this area or any other issue. If it gets too tough for me, I'll just call the state rep. And I will say, he said he only made a couple of calls, but a good state legislator makes sure he or she follows up on issues, and he called me repeatedly to make sure that this was being done in a timely fashion and done professionally and done in great honor to the Rabesa family. So it's a great day for all of us, and thank you for inviting us and for involving us in this effort, and we look forward to continuing to work for the betterment of all people. Thank you.
At this point, Tom and I will hold the ribbon, and we'll have Bella Rabesa cut the ribbon for us, and then we have a sign in honor of Mr. Rabesa that was put together by Day Signs from Nashville. Mr. Day's got the sign in there. We'll put the placard on the wall, and then for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to ride an RTA bus, we'll board the RTA bus here. We're going to take a loop down Davisville, around by the water, come up back to Pescott, and we're going to put some good Portuguese red carnations over on Mr. Rabesa's grave, and we'll return back and end our day. So if you can join us very carefully out front, and Bella will cut the ribbon. Those that are willing to pray with us, she's asked that I lead you in the Our Father. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. In heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses against us. Lead us not into temptation.
Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost.